a life to live. And if we don't talk now, we might perish. So today I have accepted that Ruto is indeed the President of the Republic of Kenya. And I believe at this point, every other Kenyan should join me in accepting that Ruto is indeed the President of the Republic of Kenya. Because then is when we can come together as a nation and know where this problem of high taxes and high cost of life is coming from and find a solution to it together as a nation. With my full knowledge that Ruto is indeed the legitimate President of the Republic of Kenya, I am ready to meet His Excellency the President, William Samoei Ruto, and tell him what he must do so that if indeed it is God who put him in that office, then it is the same God who will provide a solution to this problem of high taxation and high cost of life. And as long as it is God who legitimately put Ruto into presidency, there is nothing anyone can do about it, regardless of who you think you are. God Himself, until God Himself think otherwise. But if for sure it is not God who legitimately put Ruto into presidency, then I am afraid Ruto might face a lot of difficulties during his regime, and things might get even worse than what we have already known. I have a lot of information which I don't want to put to the public for now, because I know and I witnessed Dr. Ruto engaging in a lot of prayers during his campaigns. And I believe he usually seeks God's intervention to these problems whenever they arise, just the same way we saw him seek God during his campaigns last year. So, Mr. President, look for me, and look for me, and look for me we talk. As the Kiswahili saying goes, mambo ni mengi na masaa ndio machache. Indeed, masaa ni machache, and I am positive that Mr. President is going to look for me. What we have to agree today is that leadership comes from God. And Ruto, being one of the leaders who have been with us in this country for a while now, has been chosen by God to be the president. This simply means God has a purpose for settling on Ruto to be the president besides Raila. If anything, being a president is not a child's play that someone can wake up to one day and decides that he's going to be the president without God's support the next day and end up becoming one. What I know as it stands today is that both Raila Odinga and William Ruto are anointed by God to be our leaders. And fighting them that, oh, I want to finish Raila or I want to finish Ruto will not be prudent. I will not even bring, and it will not bring any solution to the high cost of life we are experiencing today. But instead will bring God's judgment upon ourselves. Raila is anointed by God because the things he has done to this our beloved nation, irrespective of how he did them, makes him one of the anointed. Raila delivered Kenyans from dictatorship and is the father of multipartyism. Raila also struggled for and championed for Kenyans to have total freedom of speech. No ordinary man can achieve all this if it is not from God. Ruto is anointed by God because he has become the president of the Republic of Kenya. Irrespective of how he got into that position, no ordinary man can become the president if it is not from God. Anyone who is fighting Raila and Ruto will hurt themselves. But amid that fight, we the common mwananchi and mamambogas and the boda guys are the ones who will suffer more. And even the two leaders, Ruto and Raila, if they decide to fight today instead of solving problems amicably, it is us the common mwananchi who will suffer more. Kama wazee walivyosema, fahali wawili wakipigana, ni nyasi ndio huumia. So it is good to encourage leaders who are close confidant of these two leaders, to encourage them not to fight, but find an amicable way to solve problems that are affecting the common mwananchi. Because that is the only surest way that the common mwananchi will not suffer. And who knows, maybe it is at times like this that these leaders who are close confidant of Raila and Ruto were meant to be in those positions. If not for self-interest, but to serve the interests of the common mwananchi by ensuring that Raila and Ruto do not fight. Instead, work together to ensure Kenyans are cushioned from high taxes and hunger. But to those leaders around President Ruto and around Raila Odinga who do not want Ruto and Raila to work together because of self-interest, shame on you. We know you and we are marking you. Right now you are just busy with your stomachs. You have forgotten the mamamboga and the boda operators who voted for you. If things will go wrong and hunger to start killing Kenyans and the common mwananchi, the mambamogas, the boda operators, because you did not want Ruto and Raila to work together. You are greedy leaders and you don't deserve to lead anybody. But you can be sure Kenyans will come for you. Mama Mbogas will come for you. Boda operators will come for you. Kenyans will come to feed on your blood and you will have nowhere to hide. And with the common mwananchi, the Mama Mbogas, the boda operators, the jobless, the students, the parents, and the collective Kenyans at large, we should not be afraid, but embrace courage and come out loud and in confidence, not to fight our leaders, but to tell them the truth and nothing but the truth, especially the president. For example, we can tell them that, look, Mr. President, or look, Mr. Raila, the more you keep fighting, sisi ndio tunaendelea kuumia. The more mnabishana, ndio the more gharama ya maisha inaendelea kupanda. Sana sana the president, acha kubishana na Raila. Give Kenyans solutions to the high cost of life. Prove yourself to Kenyans that you are the legitimate president of the Republic of Kenya. By giving Kenyans solutions to high cost of life instead of these altercations between you and Raila. What will you benefit, Mr. President, if Kenyans start dying today out of anger? Because you are focused on fighting Raila instead of focusing on giving Kenyans solutions at the high cost of life. If you are not careful, Mr. President, people will see these high taxes in your regime as your gradual way of starting to oppress Kenyans. People will see it as a way to make Kenyans poor and turn them into beggars so that they have to worship you in order that they may get food. Remember, if that happens, it will be only for a while. But the same God who put you in that position today will see you as his competitor. And you know what God can do if you want him to remind you who God is. King Pharaoh can attest to this. Something that will be very unfortunate to your presidency, your legacy, and your children. In life, if life is getting unbearable, we should speak and not keep quiet, because we are the ones who will perish. If taxes are high, we should come out and speak the truth, because it is only the truth that can save us, and it is the same truth that can set us free. But you can be sure if you fight these leaders anointed by God, you are the ones who will suffer, irrespective of who you think you are. To our young leaders, you have to be very careful about your actions, especially after pledging your loyalty to a particular leader. The Bible accepts that you tell anointed leader the truth, because telling the truth does not make you an enemy to the person you are telling the truth. And that is found in Galatians chapter 4 verse 16, which says, "So have I become your enemy by telling you the truth?" But the Bible demands respect for your leaders and never to fight them, which is even stated clearly in the Bible in Romans chapter 13 verse 1 to 2. And I will read that to you as well. Verse 1 says, "Let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment." Also Hebrews chapter 13 verse 17, "Obey your leaders and submit to them, for they are keeping watch over your soul, as those who will have to give an account. Let them do this with joy and not with groaning, for that would be no advantage to you." With that in mind, we also know the story of King Saul, who was the first king of Israel. We know that King Saul wanted to kill King David. But there was no single time that King David tried to fight back King Saul, even after knowing that King Saul was determined to kill him. We can read this in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 24 verse 5 to 6. Verse 5 we say, "Afterward, David was conscience-stricken for having cut off a corner of his robe. He said to his men, 'The Lord forbid that I should do such a thing to my master, the Lord's anointed, or lift my hand against him, for he is the anointed of the Lord.' This King David told his soldiers when he found Saul unaware sleeping in a cave, and never even tried to touch him, inasmuch as he had all the chances in the world to destroy King Saul that day. An anointed leader is not to be fought or to be resisted in any way, but can only be told the truth, because it is from the truth that he is going to offer good leadership to the people. And this is something that Raila and Ruto knows very well. I will not talk about how Raila knows this, but I will talk about how Ruto knows this, because he is the president. At some point, when Ruto was a member of parliament of Eldoret North, Moi kicked him out of Kanu so that he can go and seek a fresh mandate to become MP. Meanwhile, Moi had planted someone else to vie on a Kanu ticket to replace Ruto in parliament. Ruto campaigned and won against the sitting president's support. But no instance before the election and after the election did Ruto talk against Moi, his mentor na kiburi. Even during the sunset days of Mzee Moi, Ruto really tried very hard to look for Mzee Moi to wish him well. But unfortunately, he never had the chance. This is something you all know and witness. This alone is a clear sign that Ruto hakukosea Moi. And in case if he did, then he had apologized and just wanted some piece of advice from his mentor or some kind of blessings. I talk about this because Jalango Juzi visited President Ruto at State House, which Raila had an issue with. Now, mi sina issue na Jalango going to State House, but niko na issue na how Jalango was unapologetic to his party leader, Raila Odinga. He should have kept quiet from the public, looked for Raila, his party leader, privately, who is also anointed by God like Ruto, apologized and explained to Baba why he had gone to State House. If Baba was still not satisfied, then it was now in Baba's position to decide to forgive him or kick him out of the party. But as for Jalango, he was to stop there at that point, leave it to God to judge between the two of them, Raila and he Jalango, who is right. So Jalango acted na kiburi. No wonder even me, whom I was inspired by Jalango's story from a fishmonger to a member of parliament, became sorry for him, his future leadership and approach to political matters. Jalango invited God's punishment to himself for nothing. So as for me, going to State House is not wrong, because that State House is where solutions to problems facing Kenyans are being manufactured. State House is the house of the governing authority as stated by the Bible. And therefore, no one should be denied a chance to visit the house of the governing authority if they feel they have a pressing issue that they want to discuss with the governing authority, which is found in Romans chapter 13 verse 1 to 2. If I had powers to come to State House without being blocked, I would have looked for you, Mr. President, privately. But because I know if I try looking for you privately, it will take ages to finally meet you, I have decided to go back public with this information so that you look for me. You know, if you want me, it will only take you 30 minutes before you reach me. So I did not have a choice, but going public was the only choice to get your attention to this matter, so that we can meet as soon as possible. And even to Baba, if I could just call you and hook up an appointment with you, I would have looked for you privately. But since I know reaching you is not very easy as well, I will be very happy if you also reach out to me so that we meet and have a cup of tea. There is a lot we need to share. People must know that out of respect to our leaders, there are things that you can share to them about them in public. But there are things you can only share with them privately, especially sensitive matters that might irritate them. When they give you a chance to meet them privately, then you are free to tell them without fear or favor, so that if it is upon them to decide whether they will heed or not. And that is why I have called upon Mr. President and Mr. Odinga. Otherwise, may the Almighty God be with you all as you seek to live in peace in these hard times. Thank you, Kenyans, for listening to me, and God bless you.